Hi, this is Jeff, and this is the second half of my interview with Michigan talent agent Rob Winkworth. In this half, we talk about the future of Michigan on-camera work, what can get you kicked off the set, and what makes the ideal Michigan actor, and much more, so stay tuned.
And it's cold, and it's also awesome at the same time to kind of watch what goes on in that decision-making process. The scene is the scene. You can't force something along. You can't force that character to come to realization faster than they would. What they want to see is they want to see the person in the role.
I'm an actor and I'm a real person.
Like, callbacks are fascinating. I wish every actor could sit in a callback, because I think you learn a lot about just, all the investment of time that you put into kind of what you want to do or get out of a role or get out of an audition is incredibly diminished at the moment of a callback and the selection process that goes on. It's so much about your personal interaction, about how someone feels, about how do they want to work with you, do they want to spend time with you, do they like you as a person, is a big moment of that decision making. It happens in the first 10 seconds of an actor walking into a room, into a callback, a lot of the time. But then also the way the decisions get made at the end of the day, when everybody's kind of picked their headshots and their favorite talent, and then who gets next and who doesn't, is just cruel all the time. But it's incredibly purposeful. That's the other part about it. It has this very specific reason, and but it never takes the people into account.
No, we're objects.
Right. You're entirely objects at that moment.
Yeah.
And it's cold, and it's also awesome at the same time to kind of watch what goes on in that decision-making process. And you gain a lot of, I guess, distance in a good way, though, from who you are as an actor.
Well, it has nothing to do with you.
It has nothing to do with you. Yeah. It really, really doesn't. But the other side of it is it incredibly does.
Yeah, a lot of it is, just they walk in the room. You walk in the room, right. and you may think your headshot looks exactly like you, and it might.
Right.
But the client may look at it and have a different vision of what the rest of your body looks like.
Right.
And you walk in, and they're like, that's happened to me. Because I'm a giant, and people are expecting this like normal sized person for some reason, and I walk in and hello, tree, and they're like, I don't think we can use this guy next to this normal sized family, and I get that, right? You have to.
Oh yeah. But that doesn't diminish that they would love to work with you too, which is like so weird and interesting about the business is that. Like if you would come in and audition and it was a callback and something like that, I know that there would be enthusiasm, having watched you audition enough, about wanting you to be a part of a production or wanting you to be part of something. But then that you get next because you're too big compared to the rest of the family or whatever is just also the inevitable side of it. But it doesn't mean you're not wanted. Right? I mean, that's very true. Producers and directors have truly incredible memories about people that they've seen, that they've loved, that they have connections with, that they feel like they want to be a part of something.
Have you ever cast somebody without even, because they auditioned for something completely different? Has a client ever cast somebody?
Oh, yeah. That happens where there's like role changes all the time. They audition for something, but they want to use them for something else within the same production. That happens a decent percentage of the time in life. And then the other aspect of that is, I've seen several actors that have auditioned for something and haven't been hired, but the production company has seen them a lot in their other auditions, and then they finally have a product that they can use that actor for, and they get excited about, I finally have this project that, Fred can audition for, and if he can and do the job, we'll hire him, because we've watched him, we love his auditions, we just never have anything for him. And that happens a lot. And not as much as like the role switching kind of scenario, but actors that have that energy and that comfort level, and that people want to work with, people in the industry pay attention to that.
Hi, this is Jeff. Being stuck inside during a pandemic can be a real drag, especially if you're an actor looking to improve their craft. Fortunately, I might be able to help you with that. I can help you with monologues, scene work, Chekhov, Shakespeare, improv, and much more. Private sessions start at $25. For more information, go to www.michigancheckoff.com. See you guys later.
What is an authentic audition? What constitutes a great on-camera audition that feels true?
Sure. So, I mean, I'd have to. Do you mean like a film or a commercial, or because there are definite?
Well, let's start with. You know what? We have time.
Yeah.
We're not really under the gun right now. So
cool.
Yeah. So let's start with film.
Okay. So in film, it has to be that the person is relaxed. I mean, that their physicality is relaxed, and I think there's a lot of the film framing is so tight on someone's face that they forget about their body a lot of the time, and their body is an element of their performance and how their physiology and all that is running through in it. That if I'll see tension in their body and presented in their face and in their performance. So if their body doesn't kind of come in and have relaxed, or doesn't make sense for the role that they're playing, if their body energy is different, there's no way it's going to get translated to kind of the way where their performance is. The other part I would say that kind of creates authenticity for me when I see it is their comfort with time. That specifically in film, they get the thoughtfulness and they get the patience that exists in a scene to create environment or the thought of the character or a sense and understanding of that. If they have an acceptance of time and how to use and how that time would actually be used in film and how that time would be conveyed, that can often create, I think, authenticity. I think a lot of stress when I see it in a film audition comes from the need to move the scene along.
It's not a race. This is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's just, it is what it is. I mean, it's like the scene is the scene. You can't force something along. You can't force that character to come to realization faster than what they would. Which I think, I mean, it's a lot of minutia and kind of reading between the lines in that regard. But you have to understand how your character is progressing and developing through it. And just because there's another line that's to be said doesn't mean it has to be said right away. There has to be creation for the character in that moment. So in film, I think people, I don't think they move too fast, but I'm saying they don't move in time authentically. And I think that's probably the next biggest place where I critique it. And then it'd become like how
they rush the moment.
Yeah. Or they overthink the moment. I mean, and it takes too long. It just loses it loses its sense of authenticness and how it's created. It's rarely in the line or in the delivery, but it's in that kind of the use of time around that. I would say those are the two major critiques I would have about that. In commercial, it's like openness. It's the idea of just being naked on camera and being ready to do absolutely anything and just to enjoy that moment and that flexibility to kind of do whatever anybody asks you to, and to have a sense of like, I think of it often as like just joy or tickle to be in that moment and just to have fun in whatever scenario that's there, because that makes people want to work with you when you get that sense. Commercial is all about working with people in a moment and creating something as it goes along. Film is not that. TV is not that. At the end of the day, I don't think. But in commercial, I want to create the scene of a family in the kitchen, and I want to be able to manipulate things and have all these things happen. And you have joy about the product that you're selling, and you're excited about it. And if I feel like you're joyful about your performance in an audition, and you bring joy to that moment, you're going to bring joy to my production when I actually shoot it, kind of thing. The second thing I would say in commercial auditions is the person's ability to create the environment in their performance, that they understand that they're not alone. We have a car rig for a lot of auditions in our, mostly we're in the Motor City. We're going to do automotive-based auditions. So we have a steering wheel and kind of things that we can have. And it's still, I mean, that helps a lot in kind of helping people understand the environment that they're performing in. But, and it's weird, but like something like opening the door and understanding where the seatbelt is and where it's coming from when you sit in the car seat, that helps create the sense of reality that you know you're in as a performer. Your ability to create an environment really makes your audition more engaging and more interesting to watch. It shows, okay, yeah, you did your homework and you have a sense of improv, but it also shows, it helps me see you in the role. Producers often say that to me, is like, what they want to see is they want to see the person in the role for a commercial. How do I get to see them? And when you audition in front of a screen like this, or a blue wall that we have in our office, you don't get to see them in the actual scene. So how do they create the environment for that scene to help the production see them in it? That's the next biggest piece. That's why I think improv is if you want more commercial work, improv is super handy in that regard. Being able to, in whatever context you get that in, but being able to improv and be comfortable in improv makes a big difference.
Yeah, well, that explains a lot. Because once I started taking improv, I started getting much more work. So there it is. What about self-tapes? Do you find, what do you think about the advent and the growth of self-taping, and do you think it's helpful, or does it not make a difference?
Oh, it's great. I think it's great. It increases, from our standpoint, it increases the amount of people that can kind of submit on a job that wouldn't normally be able to do it. A lot of the actors in Detroit work in the auto show and things like that, so they're often traveling and they're out of town for extended periods of time doing things, but they can do shoots or they can be available for certain things. Without self-taping, they wouldn't be able to be considered for certain roles. In that sense, it's great. I think it creates. I know for me, one of the things I worry about in the audition room is I don't want to direct everybody to become the same. Kind of how I see it. Okay, we got this commercial, and all of a sudden everybody's going to be the same person at the end of the day. They're going to watch 20 auditions of basically the same
performance. Yeah.
So I get very wary of that. So I try not to overly direct in the audition room as much as possible. And I think you get lots more creativity in watching self-tapes as people bring this other sense of kind of, creative ideas that I would have never thought of. And it's one of the great things about watching actors audition is that someone thinks of something that you didn't think of or that you hadn't seen. And God, it's awesome to watch that. Even though you have invested X amount of time into this project, someone brings something different that you didn't possess or think about. And self-tape, I think, has created a lot of fun and creativity around that. It's also created this, there's some negatives to it. I think it's an expense, right? It isn't a wonderful expense they have to do. I think it takes time out of your schedule as an actor to do a self-tape, which is maybe a good thing or maybe a bad thing, and maybe it's kind of allowed other aspects to happen. But you have to make an investment in your self-tape setup in order for it to be effective. You're sending self-tapes to people that watch film and listen to audio all day long, right? So if the lighting's bad and the sound is bad, it's bad, right?
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, a lot of times I would, because you're about 20 minutes away, so I'm 20 minutes down, 20 minutes back, plus whatever time, that's an hour, and it takes me 15 minutes just to self-tape and submit.
Right.
I tend to do it out of sheer laziness.
But it makes total sense.
Yeah.
And you've done it right too. It's important that you've kind of made the investment that you made and that you worry about the things that you worry about. Your self-tapes are going to be seen and considered because you've taken the right technical steps to make sure that they're good and they're clean and they're heard and they're seen. If you don't do that, it's just like a headshot. People will very quickly make a decision about you if in the first 2 seconds they don't really see you or the lighting's not good or the sound's not good. They just don't want to watch it. It kind of hurts them in a way for some strange reason. But, yeah.
What? Speaking of headshots, what constitutes a good headshot? What's a good headshot in your view? And do we even need hard copy headshots anymore?
You need them for a callback.
Yeah.
Right. You need them if the client's there. But no, I mean, you can do them on a per project basis. We're finding headshots are really like the professional headshot, which is very important. That's how we make decisions, and how casting makes their decisions, and how production often makes their decisions, is just in that picture. So a good headshot is essential. Because we make that decision in a 2-second review of your picture. Whether
that's your business card.
That's your business card, right? And it's more than that, because we don't even read the resume, right? I mean, that happens, but the first decision is made entirely based on your picture. So it's like it's based on the feel of your business card more than it is on what the words are, kind of thing, right? It's just that single impression that happens. And so it is essentially important. It is very important to make sure that you have like a discipline about revisiting your headshot with regularity. You know, once a year or once every 2 years at the outside, kind of thing. On the other side of that, though, it's the taking pictures on your own, just in the same way that self-submissions is becoming more important. Being able to have someone that takes your picture on a monthly basis, and a good picture that shows who you are at that moment, or if you have to do it in 15 minutes and it's a good picture, that selfie headshot is becoming increasingly important. And production's asking for it all the time. They don't want to see, they'll see headshots kind of first round, but they often want to see the more selfie, who you are right now, picture that isn't, you know, photoshopped and isn't changed and isn't glossied over. It's real. That's such a trend in everything that we're seeing in the industry, is this kind of real people idea. The more real things are, the more important it is. And
what is that, though? I mean,
yeah, it just means, I mean, that you get the sense that this is someone that you see on a daily basis, right? That there's that
not a glamour shot.
Not a glamour shot. Like the aspirational stuff is like that was always a thing in commercial. We want to, you know, we want to aspire to this person, right? And the actor that you see on camera, that's diminishing in its importance. It still has a role to play, but there's, you know, the Chevy ads are kind of like one of those great examples, like where it all says real people, not real actors or whatever it is, right? And you buy a Chevy because these are real people.
Yeah, and it's like, well, I always watch those, and I'm like, I'm an actor and I'm a real person. Last I checked, I still eat. And do I cut me? Do I not bleed? And then I say, oh, I'm quoting Shakespeare. I guess I'm not a real person. It's a very funny thing. So I think there's no way, I mean, and most of those ads have real actors in them anyway. They just haven't been professionally hired up until that point or whatever it is. But so that trend is like a picture that is a headshot that isn't a headshot, right? It feels like it's of the moment. Just so people see you as, again, the role, you know, producers want to see you in the role that you're going to get. The role that you're going to get is a person, right? It's not an actor, right? And so having everything in your repertoire, you want a good professional headshot, but you want a really good selfie too. And those are, again, I think increasingly important. I think because we also have the sense of like, people can grind these things out on a regular basis. Why don't you just grind them out now for us? That I'm guessing that even that professional headshot is going to become increasingely less important. Wow. So actors, brush up your selfie skills.
Yeah, get good at it. I mean, the tripod is like a super good purchase. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Regardless of what it is, whether it's for a camera, whether it's for your iPhone or your cell phone or whatever it is. And getting good at being able to take that selfie with, being able to control lighting to some extent, and having a basic photo editing skill on your phone, just to make it look good and make sure your name is tied to it. All of those like basic little skills that make tracking you easier and knowing who you are easier. I would say that's like another sub-layer to all this is like how you name stuff is really important, because you send your picture around now. It just flies around in space.
Yeah, and what your email is. if it's rainbow sprinkles or whatever, then maybe you need to get a more professional email.
Exactly. You want to be easily trackable. You want to be I want to be able to type in Jeff and your email comes up kind of thing. It makes contacting you that much easier.
How important is an actor's website these days? I mean, I know that a lot of times they go through the agent, but do you find that some clients maybe?
Yeah, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you are searched thoroughly before you're chosen for a role by most people. I find clients are doing more background searches now than they ever had before. They want to know who is representing this product, and they want to know when someone goes and researches you online, what are they going to find? Because someone will, so everybody's preparing for that. And every callback that I've done, everybody's sitting there on their computer looking up the person that just walked in the room. And then they're talking about what they found on social media after that person walks out.
On social media?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's not only website, but they're looking at, are you on Twitter? Are you on all those other aspects? That can work in your favor and work against you, especially in commercial. If you have a decent or small film, if you have a nice following in something, people want to know it. You will get jobs because of a following.
I'm finding that there's a new category with agents in some of the larger markets like Chicago, where they have actors, models, and then influencers. Yeah. Are you going to start looking for influencers
We keep track of it. Yeah. We keep track of it. We've had people lose work because they're a final choice, but then they lose to an influencer. So we have to be ready for that situation to happen.
Wow.
And it's so we track it. We don't it's not necessary for us to kind of have it be a big element of us in our market, but we're aware of it. Yeah, we kind of keep our eyes on it. If it feels like it's the right time to bring it into an audition or a situation, we bring it up. So.
Wow. Yeah. So let's move on to after you've gotten the job. Yeah. Have you ever gotten a call like, you need to send me a different talent right now?
Yeah.
Or what kind of situations occur that would have you go to the set or find a new talent?
Well, it usually comes down to performance. Someone's just not able to perform the way that production needed them to perform. That usually comes down to so an agency hires a producer to run a thing, and then the agency is hired by some other entity, to hire the producer or whatever. So usually that other entity, whoever is like doing the commercial, McDonald's or whoever's in charge of it, that's often the person that hasn't really paid a whole lot of attention until they get to set, and then they see the actor doing something and they don't like it. So that's often become a time when we have to switch people.
Oh no.
Yeah, so that doesn't really have anything to do with the producer, and it often doesn't have anything to do with the agency. But when that the people who are writing the check really show up, they're not happy, and all of a sudden you have to make.
So it's the client.
The client, yeah. I mean, client's a tough word because in union world, our actors are our clients.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, so,
okay.
Yeah, so,
all right. Well, I didn't know that.
That's SAG-AFTRA. That's how actors are referred to as clients.
We're the client. So what do you refer to as the production?
Production.
The more you know.
But yes, it's in essence the agency's client that often makes that decision on the actor. The nice thing is once they're on set, that actor's getting paid. There's really kind of nothing bad as far as compensation that happens to that actor. It's just a bummer to not be the actor that is in that moment. That can be a really tough blow to someone because obviously you've invested some time and money. It's really important to remember that commercials and really at the end of the day, film and especially TV are all about money. And so that's why those decisions aren't really ever about you, right? They're just about someone making money down the road. But anyway, to get back to your question, when that happens, that's a situation we can roll with and we have to accept it when it comes down to performance. Happens a lot in industrial, especially in voiceover or as a spokesperson when there's a lot of copy and someone just can't do it to the extent that they need it done. When you have to read for an hour industrial copy and maintain the same level of voice and be clear and all those things. That's kind of like another breed of horse, and sometimes that
You need stamina
you need
as
stamina.
an actor.
Yeah. In that sense, you need it. Yeah, absolutely. And we've had to replace people just in that sense too, because industrial film has this. Or industrial voice has another. This is a different actor. It's a different. It can't be for everybody kind of thing. And then we've had situations where someone's just not professional on set, and they've had to be replaced.
Like what?
Like stealing has come up, or
Stealing what?
Oh, just stuff like clothes or.
Oh.
Yeah, it's kind of horrid, but you want to never bring stuff to set. you just lock it in your car or lock it away, because you never know with extras and production, and can they control everybody? I mean, accusations of stealing, whether we actually know someone steals something, but has caused us to have, and that's a really difficult conversation and thing to resolve. But also just kind of behavior on set, whether someone is professional or like they're kind of demand more than their station kind of thing. You have to understand.
Like in what way?
I mean, kind of diva-ish sort of way.
Like where's my people? Where's coffee? Snapped up. Right.
Or I didn't prepare for that idea, or or you're giving me new lines now, and I'm upset about that. It takes me a lot of time to memorize, or however that goes. Those things can often kind of spiral out of control and can become really very confrontational and difficult on set. Production likes things to happen in the order that they like things to happen, and they like to assume that actors are going to kind of fall within those constraints, especially in our market. And so when an actor's inflexibility occurs, and that can occur for a variety of different reasons, but when it does, it can really affect their ability to get hired for other work, and they can often have to get replaced on set.
My nightmare whenever I'm on set is, there's so many wires, and I'm such an ox. I'm like, I'm going to trip on these wires and destroy a $100,000 camera, and I am so going to get fired and sued. And so I'm very careful, almost like a robot,
Right.
Please don't get fired. Please, Jeff, don't get fired. Walking through the set. Has that ever happened?
I'm sure it's happened, and I don't think anybody's ever gotten fired because of it.
Oh, okay. Well, phew.
Yeah, being human is one thing, but it's kind of when you want to feel like you have control as an actor, I think, on set, which you just don't, right? I mean, it just doesn't really have. You have control of your role and your part and all that stuff, but as far as like production, it has to function and do the things it has to do. It has to be allowed to do those things. Whenever like you run into it because of your own intention or your own desire for what you want to change, and production can't handle that, that's a problem, That's a difficult problem.
Do you just cast for local productions? Do you find yourself casting for things out of state? Or
Our agency doesn't. A lot. Yeah, I know Productions Plus in the area does a lot more kind of out of state stuff. But our agency really just kind of focuses on the work that we get here. Yeah.
And what to you? What is the ideal actor? What's the ideal talent in your mind?
Well, it's someone that really loves the process of being an actor. I think because you have to love to audition. You have to love getting a headshot. You have to love those things that make being an actor and taking classes and enjoying all of the little tedious discipline elements of it, to find the way to love doing those things. That's a great actor, in my opinion, because they get it. They get the process of it. I think often there's this sense of I can just show up and do it kind of thing, and I don't have to have that discipline behind it. And some people get hired because of that. Sometimes they get hired because you don't have the discipline, you haven't built the. It's kind of like the Jurassic Park scenario, right? You create the dinosaurs without having the discipline to learn what that means, kind of thing. And that can really affect your thinking about moving forward as an actor. you haven't had to develop and love if you don't love auditioning, I don't think you should be an actor.
Well, that's the job.
I mean, that's it.
The auditioning, I always say the auditioning is the job, and getting work is the gravy of the job. But your job is to get up and audition and show up to those auditions and prepare for those auditions. And if I heard you correctly, Rob Winkworth of the I Group said you should take classes.
Absolutely.
Maybe you should take one of my classes.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's important too. Always keeping your instrument fresh, being able to be fluid in your mind and your body, and that's, I think that's important too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's the inside and the outside. You have to understand that both of those come into play. You have to have respect for that. But I mean, honestly, for me, it really comes down to loving it or enjoying it. Like if you don't enjoy auditioning, and it's drudgery to go and like it's an obligation, or again, there's that desperation behind the audition. Like anytime those things come into it, it depletes your performance. It depletes your opportunity to get the job, because it's clear that it's not something you enjoy doing. It's not something you enjoy to be in that moment. That doesn't necessarily mean you audition well, but it means that you're at least, you want to, right?
Yeah. And if you keep auditioning, you'll get better.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean, it's been great talking with you about this.
Yeah.
What do you see as the future of yourself and I Group?
I don't know. We're trying to figure all those pieces out. Actually, it's a very kind of fluid time, but because there's a feeling of film incentive kind of coming back in Detroit, which is kind of exciting.
But are you like, oh, the film incentive is coming back to Detroit, or are you like, the film incentive is coming back?
We'll be better tooled to prepare for what we need to do when that happens, and to kind of how to reorganize ourselves when that occurs. It is a little. The film incentive did a lot of, I think, kind of weird things in Detroit anyway, and I certainly hope it doesn't have the same negative connotations in general about, because people came in and definitely fleeced the people to some extent.
You know, I got that sense as an actor. I felt like there was a bunch of fly-by-night rip-off organizations. I felt like some people took on sort of an LA mentality, which was startling, because you would audition for them before, and they had like a very welcoming sort of Michigan attitude.
Right.
But once the Hollywood clients and the money started coming in, I felt like I was treated worse in auditions, and I don't want to see that come back again. I think we need to remember that we're here in Michigan, and that this is the whole point of these types of videos, is to say that we're all in this together.
Right.
You know. So.
Yeah. So I certainly hope like the legislation's better written, and I hope that we have like a more kind of Michigan-y, Detroit-based industry that develops around that, so we don't have that same stuff that happens. And I mean, I love film. I would audition film if I had the druthers. It's way more interesting and way more exciting to read in film and to be a part and see copy. And there's nothing more exciting than reading a script, in my opinion, and the words and kind of how they generate, and then getting the opportunity to audition and witness audition with good script is just fun. It's very, very exciting. So, if it comes and it kind of, from my standpoint, if it brings that, I get to touch that more, that's great. I think it would be, and I think as long as the legislation and all that stuff, and it sounds like kind of, from my understanding, really good people are thinking about things a little more thoroughly and having used the lessons from the first incentive in good ways to kind of go forward with it. So that should be very exciting. I think it's, and I think the other piece why I love it is it's the right amount of, hopefully it becomes the right amount of competition that it helps grow the industry and kind of push us to get better and better and better. Competition should only improve the things that we do. Should give us reasons to go to classes, should give us reasons to invest with kind of some discipline in what we're doing. So hopefully
Awesome.
it does that. So yeah.
Awesome. Rob Winkworth, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
If you want to know more about what I do, you can go to michigancheckoff.com. That's one word this time, and CHEKHOV, www.michigancheckoff.com, or my personal website, which is www.jefftamakis.com. And you can find more videos just like these. Stay tuned next time, and we'll see you guys later.